Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We've got a very interesting and analytical review coming up today as far as the different pellet grills on the market. Now, as you classify these, there's a number of them that effectively compete on cost, right? There's a number of them that compete on features, right? And then somewhere in the middle, you have a few of them that compete on perceived value, convincing you that the features they've put in are worth the extra dollars that you're going to be spending on them. Okay, now that being said, I'm going to keep a little bit of a focus on the Dual Fire and some of the buying decisions that, some of the things that led me to buy it over some of the others. And, you know, these guys tend to talk a lot about versatility and so forth, but I'm looking at it in terms of, let's just say utility, okay? How well you can use it and what does it do for you. Okay, so let's jump right into this. The other day I received an email from Recteq, which basically had itself compared with all the other major players that are out there, at least the ones that they're targeting and feel are competition. What I then did was I said, okay, in the price range of the Dual Fire 1200, which ones, which models specifically in those areas does Recteq compete with in terms of performance, cost, and service? So this analysis is going to be focused on that. Okay, so this is the complete matrix that was in that email, and in this instance, this is what Recteq wants you to understand, is that they've got features that really stand out compared with everybody else in the field. Now, these features equal benefits. This means it's going to save you time, it's going to give you better quality, and it's going to keep you safe while you do your cook and everything, okay? And in this, they call out the temperatures, the dual band and PID technology, the build quality, the US base, the mobile app, the largest hopper, and of course, their stellar warranty. So these are all the things that they want you to take into consideration when making a buying decision. Now again, they tend to promote, or all of them in the field tend to promote versatility, but I'm going to talk about utility. How useful is it to you? A Swiss Army knife has a lot of versatility, but how useful is it when you need to do something like, cut a slice of bologna? Okay, poor example, because I've actually done that with my Swiss Army knife. Okay, let's get started on this. The largest in class are really Recteq and Traeger. They have the biggest form factor. The smallest in class are the Green Egg and the Camp Chef, okay? And then when you take into consideration, just the lightest, that's going to be the Weber, in terms of the Searwood 600 XL. Now the heaviest, that's going to be the Recteq and the Green Egg. But when you look at the pellet grill, that Recteq is hugely heavier than the Weber, okay? Now in terms of longest warranty period, Traeger has 10-year, Green Egg has lifetime. Can't beat that. Average warranty period, though, is around 3 years for most of the pellet grills, and it's a limited warranty as well. Now, in terms of price, the lowest out there that they're comparing with, Z-Grill and Weber. Those are pretty much on the lower end. Highest base price, the big Green Egg XL. That one basically is heads and shoulders above. But by and large, you have good price competition in terms of Recteq and the Traeger and the others. Now, in terms of the clear global leader in the market, Traeger has that. They've got over 1 million downloads on Android. In terms of those that are competing the hardest, Recteq, Camp Chef, Pit Boss, and Weber. They're really coming up, trying to be fast followers in that regard. Now, in terms of differences and competing on functionality, basically the widest and highest temp ranges are between Recteq and the Green Egg. You got a lot of flexibility there in terms of your cooking prowess. Most total cooking space has to go to the Pit Boss in terms of what they provide. However, when you look at primary cooking space, the Dual Fire tends to be the most because you've got the direct and the indirect that both total up to a good amount of primary cooking space. Largest hopper size, and for that worry-free cook, again, the Dual Fire comes in above the others in that regard. Now, this is subjective, but there's no hopper dump, but they do a lot of the basics extremely well, okay? And that's what I kind of like about it. For Traeger, large number of convenience features, because what they're doing is taking what worked on the high end and trying to migrate those down and keep the cost managed. For the big Green Egg, very simple design, but you got to learn how to cook like you're on an offset. You got some special learning curves there. For the Z-Grill, Ease in cleaning, shelves, 360 casters. They're going for comfort features for a cost. Camp Chef, above average convenience features as well. Now, similarly, Pit Boss also has convenience features closely to Traeger. It's easy to see that a few of these are trying to compare themselves to Traeger. And again, Weber is doing the same, trying to give you those convenience features that effectively allow them to compete with Traeger. But now when we talk about versatility in the actual cook, okay, that's built in, you got direct and indirect on the Recteq, a power outlet, and a couple of other things. You also have that smoke box option, on the versatility, a sear kit, and a number of other things. With respect to Traeger, they got built-in super smoke, an electric side burner, insulated lid, warm mob. In terms of what comes at it with options, wireless probe, and their modifier grills and grates that come with it as well. Now, as far as the green egg is concerned, it's in a class all of its own. Heavy ceramic insulation, use of multiple fuel types, coal and wood, and so forth. And they've got a ton of expansion capability in there as well. Rotisseries, grill expanders, Wi-Fi fans, and so forth. Z Grill, they've got a warm mode, prime mode, a super smoke, a lid gasket, and insulation. Again, trying to be competitive as they can with Traeger. And they've got a lot of third-party universal items that can be bolted on there as well. Now, Camp Chef, they got this smoke box burner, not like the smoke box on the Recteq, but a burner that burns the wood chips. They got a fan only for cold smoke mode, which is really interesting. And then they have the options for the integrated sidekick propane accessories that can come along with that. Pretty impressive. With respect to the Pit Boss, again, the smoke technology, the super smoke, the prime, and then of course they've got a couple of other things that are part of that as well, and the third-party universal items too. Weber, again, lots of different things that come in there: smoke boost, direct flame, probes, and then of course they have the rotisserie and other add-ons that you can put into place as well. So again, what they're trying to do is compete with Traeger in the marketplace. So you got direct heat and flame and prime features that a handful of these guys do, and then you've got the fan only and the smoke box burner that Camp Chef is doing. They're also trying to match features at lower cost, expansion items, and build quality, where they can. On that note, I agree that Recteq excels in this area. Heavier gauge materials, higher quality of steel versus powder-coated steel, just superior build quality, and what I would call a much beefier design overall. Now, in terms of integrated bolt-on options, Camp Chef is really focused on that with the sidekick items that they have. The pizza oven, the griddle, and so forth. Recteq as well, smoke box and the power outlet. Weber with the rotisserie. And then, of course, they all tend to focus on customer service. So let's take a quick look at the, big guy on the block, the Traeger. In this case, they just came out with a new Woodridge, and this was what I was looking at when comparing with my dual fire choice, specifically the Woodridge Elite. Now, what was interesting about the Woodridge Elite was it had a lot of good features. Now, this was a system that had an insulated lid, a cabinet, the pop and lock system, and a color display. And obviously, this was a slimmed down version of their Timberline, where they were doing some of the similar features, such as an electric side burner. In the case of the Timberline, you get an induction. In this one, you get an IR with 5 settings. But again, not a bad system, plenty of cooking space. It looks like it could do what I wanted it to do. But that build quality was just a little loose. I mean, even these cabinet doors just felt a little flimsy to me. You've got magnets holding them up on the top. And so forth. But I did like the easy clean aspect that they had built in. And in terms of other touches, they focus on having a comprehensive user guide to try and help people through things. So I can appreciate that. But that Timberline, this is the Cadillac, and that Woodridge Elite is the skinny down version, where on this one the cabinet doors have that soft close feature and a number of things, but they also have a lot more control capabilities on the Timberline that just do not make it down to the Elite. So with respect to the Dual Fire, one of the things that really got me was the bundling that they had offered, okay? And in that manner speaking, I ended up getting the smoke box bundle. Specifically, I like the idea of being able to cold smoke things and doing everything inside that smoke box that you've seen me put some videos together. Of course, one of the big primary features that you have on these things is how well does it, work as a pellet grill and a smoker, okay? And thus the indirect side becomes hugely important. But when it comes to searing over here, okay, that's also very important. So for me, I was looking at the ability to do that broad range. That's what was important to me, okay? So those features meant I was going to spend a little bit more, extra, if you will, in terms of what I was looking for. And obviously, the uncompromisable, aspect of things is right over here, the controller. Had to have a very good controller to manage temperature and other things. So these were things that were extremely important to me overall. Now, that being said, number one for me also was build quality. It had to have some solid build quality in it, okay? I didn't want something that was, basically, going to fall apart on me in, 3 to 5 years. I wanted something that was going to be built to last. And that's more or less what I feel like I found in the Dual Fire, specifically from Recteq. As I got to study them a little bit more, I realized that a lot of the things that were important to them were a lot of the things that were very important to me. And so that's why I went there. Now, this is not the Z grill that I put in the review in terms of features and everything, but it is one I have my hands on availability to, and I wanted just to kind of give you guys a sense as to what you're looking at. Again, in terms of build quality and such, pretty basic. There's not much to it other than some pretty straightforward manufacturing. Obviously, this is a low-cost design that comes into play. But you've got the enamel, coated grates, not bad. You got 3 rows of cooking, so there's a number of cooking, options you can do with this. Okay, you've got your standard drip tray down there, standard fire pot, everything else along those lines. Pretty easy to care for, pretty easy to work with. And again, these guys are trying to compete with the big boys on the block, so they've got some other primary features that are part of it. I'll give you an example of one of them right here. And that is the ashtray. This is a very simple way to start cleaning out everything. The assumption is your drippings are going to go into the bucket, standard form right over here, but you're going to have your ash collection inside of this tray that you can just pull out, vacuum out, and do what you want to do. Now, they do have a couple of different options on this. You can add your own Wi-Fi controller for this particular model. Hey, I did that. That was easy enough. What I did not appreciate was the wheels on this thing. So yeah, Dad did a homemade alteration and put some casters on this to make it work. But does it have enough hopper storage for an overnight cook? Yeah, absolutely. That's not a problem here either. But you're not going to find frills like a pellet level sensor or anything along those lines. But what you do have is on the Wi-Fi controller, room for 4 probes. Okay, I got 4 probes. And you're able to put those to work for you as needed with whatever kind of cook that you're doing. Does it have other features? Yeah, shelves, places to hang off your tools, shelves that fold, and you can kind of hear the build quality there, right? A little bit of dinging and whatnot, but it's got a lower shelf down there. So again, it's got some basic features that are good for potentially whatever you might want, depending on what level of cooking and versatility and utility that you're looking to get out of, your pellet grill. It must be Zen time. Now, I will say this. I do enjoy the fact that he likes his Z grill and he's been cooking on it a few times. And he's actually made a decent set of ribs. I will say that. I will admit, maybe a little bit better than me. And yeah, he's even posted a few videos himself and has really kind of gotten into the idea of the culinary arts and wants to path himself to or towards culinary school at some point. So you know what? This is a great starter package for him, and I gotta tell you, I'm excited when he does it, without a doubt. So this is my moment is in. I'm sharing with you. And yeah, do me a favor, like and subscribe and give me some comments. Truly appreciate it.